What great technology. What great technology, huh? Learning something new every day.
Good morning, George. Good morning, everybody. You're at Coffee with George and Phil. 22 minutes to help you become the best version of yourself. Whether you found yourself out of shape and need to get focused, unemployed and in transition, or just know that there's something that you are called to do. We're your hosts, George Murray and Phil Connor. Our goal is to help you move from where you are today to where you want to be tomorrow. We're glad you could join us early on a Saturday morning. We only have 20 minutes left, so let's get started. And first, George, I just want to point out that I'm wearing the hat first day of spring and hopeful of baseball season. This is our St. Paul Saints. Hopefully, the baseball season's right around the corner and we can get back to some nicer, warmer weather.
Absolutely. Last Monday was kind of a depressor after having 60-degree weather on the weekend.
The it's kind of funny that the sun is shining brightly. The sky is blue. It's a beautiful day. Before we also get started, one thing that came up out of the last episode was one of our viewers asked about the 30, 60, 90-day plan and that, could they use it for every company they interviewed with? Did we have a template? And the thing that we really wanted to focus on stress for the viewers was the 90-day plan is the template. You're going to make an impact in the first 90 days, outlining that for the company and being very role specific. You can't use the exact same plan for every single opportunity. And yes, it's effort, but being in transition is hard work, right, George?
Absolutely. You got to make sure this is part of that wow factor at every step. You're listening. You're kind of putting those tools into that 90-day plan, and you're building it over a couple of weeks. Whether you're going from the phone screen all the way to a final round, so you've got to be tweaking that along, and then you basically sell yourself to the potential hiring manager that says, you know what, by all means, the first week we'll sit down and align this. But I think this is really kind of a good first step process, and it really helps bring you across the finish line, I think, from a competitive standpoint.
Great point. Selling yourself, but selling the impact that you can have for that organization. But before you can even have an impact on the organization, today's show is really about making sure that you are equipped to do that. And we're going to talk about the mind, body, and soul, kind of the three legs of the stool. Um, does that make sense to you? And you talk about it in your book.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, in transition, there's a lot of things that are out of your control. I think one of the things that's really important for everybody is to kind of do a self-reflection and say, hey, this is a timeout for me. There's things that I can focus on. And that's what I did. I basically said, I'm going to look in the mirror. I'm going to turn around and start a workout program. As you stated, it's spring. It's an opportunity to now finally get out of the house, whether you're going to walk, run, jog, whatever the case may be, or fill row. But you got to start something, right? The things that you can have an impact on yourself are going to help with your self-esteem, your confidence, and that's all going to help you in landing your next role.
And really, it starts in your book, Hired, Cut Your Career Search Time in Half. You talk about owning your situation. So if we talk about the first leg of the stool being mind, I think we both have talked about how the transition is stressful, and part of managing that stress and actually next week we're going to talk about resiliency and recovering from rejection, but but just the approach of a job search when you're in transition, uh, and that the idea of owning their situation. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think the thing is that it's you said it's a shock, right? So I think you've got to process it first, and then there's a lot of things that are out of control. You can wake up the next day and say, I'm going to give every effort, but am I going to get hired today? Probably likely not. But the things that are within your control, your mind, your body, your soul, those are the things that are all within your control. It's an opportunity for you to really, what I would consider, transform yourself, whatever direction, whether you want to do a slight pivot, you want to make an adjustment, or you want to do a 180, right? Those are the things that you have to own and you have to consider, and then you lay a plan out. And after that, I did it mine on a Saturday. After a couple, 3, 4 hours, I got past all the bad stuff, kind of that lost stage, moved into a transformation stage.
Well, and mentally, transition can be a real shot to our ego, right? And folks can kind of get easily drawn into that emotional black hole of depression. And um, how did you handle that depression aspect of it when you were in transition?
Well, first of all, I will tell you that I'm not a doctor. So if you're really having something that goes on more than a couple of days, you probably should seek some professional medical advice. But, to me, you know, back to a personal board of advisors, I had a good friend of mine, actually, he's a guest today, talked me into meditation and morning affirmations. Here's a highly skeptical New England born and raised and military guy. Really, does that stuff really work? Yeah, it does, because when you're in career transition, you are your worst coach, right? You're always second guessing yourself, especially as time goes on. It's really important. And what meditation for me, it's kind of like for all the IT people out there, it's a way to kind of download the negative stuff, clear out, and then the morning affirmations upload that positive energy that you are successful, you got this, you can do this, right? It really does work.
Well, and did you when you're trying to position yourself with strength as well, did you find any exercises that like taking that meditation another level of really self-reflecting on why you got to the place you or how you got to where you are?
Yeah, for me, it was kind of simple, right? I just needed to get back on the bike, so to speak, not the bike. Actually, for me, I was growing up in the military running, and kind of hiking 20 miles or whatever with a rucksack. So, if I got out on off the couch and started running, I certainly would have had a heart attack. I was probably the heaviest I'd ever been on my frame. And so I just got out and started walking. The average person only walks about 5,700 steps. That's less than 3 miles. So if you walk 3 miles in the morning, you've done more than everybody does all day. That's an old army term, right? But the fact is then you've got the entire rest of your day in front of you.
What one of the mental exercises that I actually just a couple of months ago participated in that may help folks in transition is I went back all the way to my very first job in high school where I worked as a janitor in a large shopping mall back in Pennsylvania. And then just on the list just wrote every single job that I had, and I keep that list as a running tally on a document on my computer. And just whenever I have a memory that comes up of a lesson that I learned, or either good or bad, I add it, kind of keeping a running tally. But you talk about an exercise that when you're in job transition, taking the last couple of jobs that you've looked at or that you've had, and focusing on the successes you had and the lessons you've learned just in the last couple of jobs. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, after a couple of months of my first career transition, did I ever thought it was going to take 13 months? No, the unemployment rate was 4.3%. I thought 4 or 5 months, I got this. But shockingly enough, it was a little bit longer than that. And my exercise was on a Saturday morning. I'm a proponent of keeping it simple and visual, right? So I took an 8.5 by 11 piece paper, swung it around landscape, cut it in half, and said, you know what? I'm going to focus, first of all, on the stuff that didn't go so well in my last role, right? And then I would jump over to the right and I would say, all the things I liked and all the successes I had. And for me to process and get out of that lost stage was I ripped the paper in half, kind of mutilated the bad stuff and whatever thing happened, and I tossed it in the garbage. And metaphorically, for me, it was a way to turn around and get past that lost stage, get that out of my system. I wrote it down, and now it's out there, but it's gone in the trash, so I can move forward.
Well, and a couple episodes we talked about that, right? Is the windshield is really large, the rear view mirror is small. You can't successfully drive your car by only looking at the rear view mirror. You want to be looking out the windshield. Use the rear view mirror for reference and lessons learned, where you've been in the past. But um, the I love that exercise that you did, George, because it really focuses your energy on the positive things you've accomplished, so that you could think about how you're going to equip yourself to make an impact at your next employer. Um, and throughout the time that we've known each other, you've constantly brought up, new ideas like that or new exercises that you've done. And one of the ways that we really connected and became friends was this transformation group that you started on WhatsApp community. Um, Maybe share with our viewers a little bit of how you got the idea to start a transformation community.
Well, first of all, I want to welcome Wendy, Frank, Vishal, Tom, Renee. Really appreciate you guys chiming in here.
Morning,
Um,
everybody.
for me, did I know at the beginning of March of last year that we'd be going in a pandemic and we'd be still, a lot of us working from remote? No, I just know that after about a year in my current role, that I started to put a little bit more weight on. I was less attentive to my physical attributes, and so I said, you know what, I'm gonna get out there, start walking and running, and get back up to where I was just a year ago. And I think I just, me, I just have an idea and I pop it out there and throw it out and see if it sticks. And we had 15 people sign up, and we did that for 8 weeks. Bunch of people lost, single, double digit weight. Then we did it another time, ran it out another 8 weeks, and added another people. I think we're actually up to almost 50 people, right, that are on this, and a lot of them have since landed, right, during that transition. So it was an opportunity to bring people together, whether they needed help, whether they needed support, whether they just needed to say, "Hey, I'm out here. How can I help?" Right? And so that's really what the community was all about: is, hey, let's get together, let's help one another, all succeed to get better.
Well, and it was great from a standpoint from my speaking of myself. I think I shared with you that I started running every day because of the accountability of having to report into the group. And I'd been an intermittent runner. I'd run for many years, but never consistently. And then I got up to where I was running 6 or 7 miles 6 days a week because of the transformation community that you put together. And in fact, somebody else that was in that transformation community was our friend Lisa Fraga. And I think we asked her to join us today.
We did.
Hello.
Morning,
Hello.
Lisa.
Greetings from Charlotte, North Carolina.
So great that you could join us. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome.
So you've spent a lot of time in your life, Lisa, focused on the mind, body, and spirit that we're talking about today. What kind of insight do you have that you could share with our viewers about the importance of taking care of yourself at times of stress, like job transition?
Yeah, I think, I could give you the academic response or I could give you the life experience, right? So we talk a lot about job transition, but in my mind, it's not just, it's any kind of transition, right? Death, empty nesters, losing your job, something very happy, a major change, right? And I think
A promotion.
yeah, a promotion. I think it's important to maintain the continuity of taking care of oneself, right? I was in transition. I went through, two of the top five major life events at the same time, and when we're in transition and we're like George and Phil say, it's like, when are you going to find the job, right? Is this interview going to be the one? It's a 3 to 4 month process, right? And we start thinking about, okay, I need to stop my gym membership, I need to stop discretionary spend, I need to stop all of the things because it feels very selfish for me to do that. And quite conversely, when I did that, I started feeling more stressed. Like I stopped going to the gym because I couldn't afford it. And so I immediately reactivated my gym membership. And then I started this whole, what's meditation? Like, oh, I'll talk to people about yoga and I'll hear, I can't do yoga, I got to be still. That's the whole point. Like, and it takes time, and it's so easy for people for me to tell you to do it. But a lot of this is having an accountability buddy. George has been my buddy for 6 years. Like, he and I were in transition the first time together. And I kept telling him I was going to write a book because you just can't make this stuff up. And he went and did it. Right. So, and I think George has been my accountability buddy, and Phil as well. But to me, George, if you want to show the circle of life, I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but it's all about balance. And in my day job, I'm a transformation lead, and when I was in transition, all I thought about was, wow, I'd love to do something with health and wellness because I'm so passionate about it. So when I did finally land, and it was some contract work on and off, and then I finally went full time a few years ago, I did it. I went and I went to school because I wanted to become a health and wellness expert. I wouldn't view myself as an expert right now, but it's all about life experiences that get us to where we are now. And if you look at this circle of life, it's all about balance. Like it's a fact that if your relationships are toxic, if you surround yourself with negativity and toxicity, then you're not going to take care of yourself. Like it's just much easier to go buy a bottle of wine and watch Netflix tonight, right? And I'm being real because this is how it was, and it's not necessarily.
So I should steer clear of Eeyores then, right?
Pardon me.
I said I should steer clear of Eeyores.
Yes, right. You keep
So
them in
for
your
our
life.
viewers that don't know what George is referring to, he's just talking about people that are constantly walking around with a negative attitude, just like the Eeyore character in the Winnie the Pooh novels.
Yeah. So when you look at the circle, it's, we talk about mind, body, spirit, mind, body, soul. The spirituality, a lot of people think I got to have a faith. Like I got to go to this church. Spirituality could be forest bathing, like walking outside and just, meditating, and creativity comes from spirituality. It could be lying on a yoga mat and meditating. It could be just sitting in a dark room for 5 to 10 minutes. It could be anything, right? Just connecting with something greater than yourself.
And that's
Hey,
so
Lisa.
hard, like in the modern society, ever since, the invention of the light bulb, where we can be on, and then the computer and these smart devices where we're connected 24/7. It really takes some discipline for us to remind ourselves that our bodies are wired to recharge, right?
Yeah. Device detox, do it, right? Just even if it's a few hours, just shut it down, shut it all down. And
Hey,
just
Lisa, I
go.
have a question.
Yeah.
Would it be a great exercise for people to maybe, periodically, you don't have to do it every day, but maybe rank this 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 on all these areas and then say, hey, you know what? I may have not been really focused on, let's say spirituality. I want to turn around and do more of that.
Yeah. So I do this every month, and it's recommended to do it quarterly, right? And you just put a dot where you feel you are. Like the further out you go, the more balanced you feel you are in that particular area, right? And so if you're in transition, I will use job transition as an example because I'm all about transformation and transition no matter what's going on in your life, right? If you're in transition, then your finances might be, even though you might, have saved and you have maybe a severance or whatever the case may be, you're still thinking out. Like I'm feeling like I'm nervous about my finances because I don't know when I'm going to land, right? And then you land, and then your finances, they start to look better because you're feeling better, right? You'll see home cooking. Like I'm all about home cooking because I know what's going in it. I know what's in it, right? And as time goes on, I'm less and less likely to eat out. Home cooking is important. Like, what's your home environment like? Is it stressful? Of course it's stressful. You're in transition, right? But you can control that by taking care of all of the other things here, right? Joy comes from within. What makes you happy? What makes you joyful? Like go for a walk, right? Maybe you can't afford a vacation, but you can go to Lake Minnetonka, or go up to Brainerd, or do whatever it is that makes you happy. And then just focus on the future and visualize. And, that worked for me, to visualize where I wanted to be. And then I just worked really hard to get there. And it wasn't by myself. Like I could sit here and tell you to do it, but the social community, your networking team, like George was on my team from the get-go, Jenny Jeffords, Lenny Newman, like they still are my people. You and Phil too now. But it's so important to have that community of people that are there for you to build you up. Because guess what? They're going to need you at some point in time. And you might feel like, I don't want to lay this, on them because it's heavy and it feels heavy. And it's like, yeah, but they're going to need you at some point in time too. So
Lisa,
it's really about.
George and I have talked about that for months now. Is that we can't do it alone, right? The transition is so hard, and if you try to do it by yourself, if you try to do it alone, you're not going to be successful. And I just want to clarify. You mentioned you're not a health and wellness expert yet, but what you are is a transformation expert. And why this is so impactful for our viewers to hear from you is that if they really want to change where they are in life, they need to transform. And your advice is really valuable to them right now.
And there's another thing. I used to say, there's no way I can get up and work out in the morning. There's no way, right? So in my head, I wasn't going to do it because I didn't put that positive thought in my head. And when I was in transition, I decided I'm going to start doing that. Right. And so now to get my day started, I have to work out in the morning. It takes 21 days to make or break a habit. We've all heard it. It takes 90 days for a lifestyle change. So don't make this a temporary thing, right? If you just get started, take one small step. And George and Phil, you guys know it. Like you can't boil the ocean. It's a drop in the ocean, but one small step has a major positive change.
And those who don't know, Lisa is actually on my personal board of advisors. She was the one that actually talked me into meditation and into morning affirmations. And believe me, I remember the conversation. I did it for like 2 days, and you're like, shut up, do it for 30 days, and then come back to me. And so, I've been doing it for 2 years. And you know what? The fact is that I can actually feel it when I haven't done it for a couple of days. It's like, you know what? I know something's off, and I've got to go back and do that.
It's hard work to do it. Just try 1 minute a day, 1 minute. That's it.
Lisa,
Yeah,
thanks so much for joining us on a Saturday morning.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well,
so we got a few minutes left there, Phil. You guys got anything else to turn around and wrap up? You want to kind of talk about our next?
Yeah, let's throw up a slide for the next episode, because I think it's going to be really critical for some of our viewers out there. We've seen it in some of the notes that's in the message board, but in 2 weeks we'll be back on April 3rd at 8:02 in the morning, just like we are every first and third Saturday of the month. But we're going to talk about recovering from rejection. We talked about the interview process the last time. We're talking about taking care of ourselves today, but there is just the reality. It's the law of averages that when you're going after new opportunities, new jobs, you're going to potentially face rejection. We're going to talk about how to understand that, managing your own personal expectations for a job search, dealing with the recovery when you do get rejected, and then making a plan on how you're going to address that proactively. So we hope you'll join us on April 3rd for Coffee with George and Phil.
And if you found this show beneficial or it could help somebody, we'd like you to share and help others in either in transition, whether it's career transition or just transition in life. Today is the first day of spring. It's supposed to be a nice day in Minnesota. I don't know where else in the world, but at least get out. I plan to get out and do at least 8 miles. You, Phil?
Yeah, I'm going to be rowing 45 today and 90 tomorrow, 90 minutes.
So want to take the opportunity to thank Lisa again for her insight. She is a certified coach, helping a lot of people out there just to get better. And that's kind of like the theme, all about is helping people, especially, in one of maybe their lowest points. With career transition, you're always second guessing yourself, but this is really just in life. We have a roller coaster life. It's always up and down. It's never kind of a steep climb or a drop down into better times each and every day. So we've got to make the most of it.
Well, and there's a great quote from Jim Rohn that talks about if you want to accomplish more, you need to become more. And I think what Lisa really can help people with is in that area of transformation. Because if just like the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, if you want to accomplish great things, you're going to need to make a plan and change. And she can certainly help with that. But let's make sure that people don't forget that you've got a new book out on the market called Hired: Cut Your Career Search Time in Half. It's available from Kirkhouse Publishing. If you want it a little bit faster, you can get it on you get it faster through Kirkhouse. It is available on Amazon.com if that's the way you like to prefer to purchase your books. But if you're a little bit more cost conscious, or you just can't wait for Amazon or Kirkhouse to deliver it, it's also available on the Kindle Unlimited platform. So whether it's for yourself or a friend, we know right now there's a whole lot of people around the country. They're dealing with job transition and in the process of searching for that next career. George's book does a fantastic job of outlining in a very simple and easy to understand way how to cut that career search time in half.
Hey, we want to wish you guys a great weekend. Make the most of it. Get out, set a plan in place, take on Monday really hard.